Hello, everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show because I needed another show. And this time, we, with my friend Rod here, are going to be talking about the Oscars. So, kind of decompressing what just happened. Because honestly, I didn't think this was going to be like a big thing. I thought it was going to be a pretty predictable show. And then stuff happened, and it wasn't so uninteresting.
Right.
Let's just say. But I guess, Rod, thanks for coming on. I guess if for those who haven't met Rod, who's been on a couple of my other shows, you'd like to kind of just shamelessly plug and just introduce yourself.
Give me 1 second. Let me just get my book out here and just make sure I get all my. Yes. So, I'm just kidding. You can find me on my personal film page at the Cinema Gallery. That's Cinema Gallery with 3 L's. And then you can find me and my good buddy Ben. We do a podcast, the Infinity Film Podcast. You can find us on our Instagram page, just at the Infinity Film Podcast. And then you can listen to us anywhere: Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Absolutely. And you can find the episodes where I was on.
That's right.
And have some fun because we talked about Adam McKay.
And
Emily Blunt.
And Adam Sandler. 2 Adams and an Emily. That should be a movie. Ooh.
And Adam Sandler. Well, see, if we were debriefing the Independent Spirit Awards, then I could do my whole entire Independent Spirit Awards Best Actor speech impression of Adam Sandler. But we're not. We're here to talk about the Oscars. So I guess overall, Rod, do you think this has been an improvement over the past couple of years?
In terms of just the overall show itself, yes. I was very entertained. I thought, for the most part, all 3 hosts, Regina Hall, Amy Schumer, and Wanda Sykes, I thought they all did a great job, especially Regina and Wanda. I thought they had some really good bits. I actually laughed the hardest probably when Wanda came out dressed as King Richard. That cracked me up.
You know how much shaming I had to do?
That was really funny. Regina had some, except for that one moment when she started, groping Josh Brolin and Jason Momoa. I was like,
hey, I thought her thirst traps were hilarious.
No, before that, all that was great. That was hilarious. And I actually applaud Josh Brolin for just kind of going with the bit. So I could tell he was probably a little uncomfortable. It was like, whatever. Look, we're here to have a good time.
That's the thing. If I follow Josh Brolin on Instagram, he seems like a fun dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he doesn't look like he would just be a silly fun dude, but he seems to be a pretty fun dude. And I'm not surprised that he went along with that. And Jason Momoa is just Jason Momoa.
Yeah, just very chill and calm throughout the whole thing.
They got pat down.
Absolutely. And then Amy Schumer, who I was like, really, Amy Schumer? You're gonna bring her on? She was good. I thought she was good. I enjoyed her Spider-Man bit. I thought that was really funny.
I felt like she definitely was my least favorite. And honestly,
absolutely,
if they replaced her, I wouldn't have been upset.
Right.
Honestly, I would have been, in hindsight, I think Wanda Sykes could have just hosted the Oscars.
I agree. Like her or Regina Hall, either one of them, I could see them hosting. I hope they bring them back. Now, what I wanted, was Regina Hall, Wanda Sykes, then maybe like a Viola Davis or Octavia Spencer, like a Regina King. Because Regina King last year's show was excellent. So
she did the walk-in.
Yeah,
Soderbergh style.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Well, because he did direct it. He directed the Oscars.
Did he really last year?
Oh, and if you think about that and then watch it, you can't unsee it. Like that whole entire opening sequence was like right out of Oceans.
Well, see, I didn't know that.
And now you do.
Well, I wish I didn't, because that last year's show was terrible. So that was.
I actually really enjoyed the Academy Museum bit that Wanda Sykes did.
That was funny. I like that too. That was really funny.
Made me laugh the hardest was when she was talking about, so Spike gets to like store his crap here for free.
Yes.
Where's my section?
Yes, absolutely.
That was great. And that, that's a character actor that pops up in a whole bunch of stuff who is playing off her.
Right.
And I thought that was perfect.
I thought he looked familiar. I was like, I've seen you before and other
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah, he's a character actor that pops up in like sitcoms and comedies and stuff like that. I feel like some I guess what a nice place to start might be some of like the actual show highs and lows. So what were some of the real standouts that you enjoyed the most, Rod?
I my biggest takeaway, honestly, because I'm not a big fan of when Oscars do like the musical performances and all that. I kind of wish they would cut that out. But when Billie Eilish performed "No Time to Die," that was probably one of the top three highlights for me of the evening. Was just her and Phineas performing that song. That was beautiful. That was wonderful.
Yeah, especially because like they did the big number with Beyonce at the beginning,
That was great. Great way to
which
open
was
the show.
like that was like production.
Right.
Reba, uh, Don't Talk About Bruno, they just flubbed, which made me really sad. But like, yeah, Billie Eilish killed that.
Yeah.
Billie Eilish is like, hold my beer. And got up on stage and was just like, I'm gonna kill this. And
Exactly. She was incredible.
yep. It reminded me of like, Adele did Skyfall.
Mm.
Lady Gaga did Shallow. Like those performances like nailed it.
That's probably my favorite performance was the Lady Gaga Bradley Cooper doing "Shallow." I love that. I could watch that over and over again.
Yeah, that was great. That was a peak Oscar moment. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Billie Eilish did great. Um, Obviously they did a lot of celebrations this year, and like I thought the Pulp Fiction one was fun. It wasn't anything like super special, but the gag with the briefcase, like I kind of saw that coming, but like it's okay. And Samuel L. Jackson got to have a moment. It was interesting seeing John Travolta up there with no hair on his face, on his head, but all on his face.
Right.
Interesting look at Uma Thurman.
Yeah. When was the last time you seen Uma Thurman?
Warwick Grandpa.
When was the last time we saw Uma Thurman?
I saw Warwick Grandpa. She's actually in 2 high-profile streaming shows. Well, scratch that. One's a Showtime show. Super Pumped.
Yeah, I've only watched the first episode. That's a good show.
She gets in episode 4, I
Okay.
think, and then she was in Suspicion on Apple TV Plus, which like I thought it was interesting, but like I didn't love it. But she was in that. But I like that. The Bond one.
That Obama was great.
Live and let die. Just like as a
I
Bond.
can't wait to talk with Ben about it because he's a big Bond fan. So
as I have my whole Bond collection on Blu-ray right here. I've been watching Bond movies. I had all of them on VHS and then DVD, and then I got the Blu-ray set. Oh, that video is great. Yeah. And when we get to the lows, I'll talk about the other one with its odd musical choices.
Yeah. The celebration of the previous movies that have come out, because a lot of them came after the Thing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a distraction for me a little bit. Like it was kind of not what distractions are wrong, but it was kind of I didn't really care because I was too busy focused on the other thing that happened, which we're going to talk about. But
and the whole Diddy's intro, Sean Combs, was odd.
It was really
There's
weird.
still a lot of like awkwardness.
Yeah, it was.
And the fact that they did a Godfather compilation video with a Diddy song was odd. Like you literally have one of the greatest scores in the history of cinema to this movie.
Right.
Just use that. Obviously, Bond had plenty to choose from because they could have done endless Bond themes or just the theme song to James Bond, like the music. But like, that was a bit hit or miss. I thought the Liza Minnelli thing was a nice thing, and like obviously she's definitely dealing with like dementia and stuff like that. But like It was so cute though, her and Liza got together, and then it just reminds you that Bob Fosse beat Francis Ford Coppola for Best Director 50 years ago.
Well, Shane, there's Oscars make a lot of mistakes. They're not perfect.
which is interesting because I'm a huge Bob Fosse fan, actually, and he is a great director. It's just odd to think in hindsight that Francis Ford Coppola did not win Best Director for The Godfather.
I obviously I watched The Godfather like a lot later on in my life, like not until I think probably high school was when I watched The Godfather for the first time, and I was like, oh, that guy probably won Best Director for The Godfather. And I was like, no, he didn't. And I was like, yeah, all right, nice joke. No, it's true.
No, Bob Fosse did for Cabaret. I
I still haven't seen Cabaret, so I can't comment. But
it's an impressive musical, and Liza Minnelli is amazing, and Bob Fosse it was an impeccable director, and then worked himself to death at 50 years old from a heart attack. But most savage moment besides the other moment was when they were going to give out that DVD of an unseen movie.
oh my god,
It was The Last Duel.
yes, dude. Because like I saw the people I was with, they're like, I don't get it. And I was like, oh, that was like kind of just a joke for the real, like the people. I want to say like diehard film fans, but people who are really into film would know.
Saw The Last Duel?
Yeah, who saw The Last Duel? The 20 people on Earth who saw The Last Duel. Which, by the way, Shane, just a little tangent here. That movie deserved much better than what it got.
I would have, like, honestly, I could have seen that replacing a handful of Best Picture nominations.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree. like it could have popped up in a whole bunch of categories. I would have loved to see Ben Affleck as Best Supporting Actor nomination instead of Jesse Plemons.
I think
or honestly even like J.K. Simmons, but like J.K. Simmons is just so great that like they were going to vote for him anyway.
I think all four of them were snubbed. Truthfully, I think all four of them were snubbed. I mean, if you're going to leave out anyone,
great work. Adam Driver, yes. I thought Adam Driver could have been nominated for Best Actor for Annette. Like, however you feel about that movie, my God, Adam Driver, just like
that movie. Because I've only watched it once because I was really looking forward to it. Yeah, me and Annette and I, we don't click. That didn't work for me. But I will agree with you that him and Cotillard she's on the poster and she's like marketed all, and she's barely in them. I mean, that was funny, but yeah, Driver was fantastic.
I thought that could have been nominated at least for like one of the original songs from it.
I like the opening number. The opening number,
yeah, 100%. But got to get a Diane Warren song in. But I guess let's talk about some of the actual awards before we get into the elephant in the room. But what do you think is the biggest surprise win for you that you're just like, they won, this person won, that movie won?
Shane, like, I think this is everything kind of went according to plan. We were talking about that off screen, right? Everything kind of went the way we thought it was going to. The one category that I was kind of, or probably most fascinated with, was original screenplay, because I just did not know, because Don't Look Up on WGA.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, well, I thought this was going to go to either Belfast or Licorice Pizza for sure. So, and Belfast won Critics' Choice, right, for original screenplay?
I don't recall.
I thought it did. I can't remember.
I legitimately don't remember.
And all the films nominated were all worthy. I mean, Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Worst Person in the World.
See, like, that could have been a real, like, if that won Worst Person in the World, I would have been like,
I would have been happy.
Been shocked.
I would have been happy.
Yeah,
I would have been happy. Like, I'm good with Belfast winning, because I'm a fan of Belfast. I love that. I know Instagram seems to be kind of torn on Belfast a little bit.
Belfast was my number one movie of last year, so like
really?
That winning at least that made me so happy. Like, and seeing Kenneth Branagh finally win an Oscar, because like that man was born to give an Oscar speech. Like, I just wanted to, like, because like he's just a character, and like he just has such a presence. And I know he was recovering from COVID, actually, because he had COVID, but like 2 weeks ago. but I was really happy to see him win that. So like I think out of like pleasant surprises, it was one of the two screenplays because I was 100% thought Power of the Dog was going to win adapted.
I I didn't, and I say that because I thought my relationship with Power of the Dog is I'm not the biggest fan of the movie. Shane, I think the performances are all great. That's kind of what kept me invested, but I'm just not. I thought it was too much of a slow burn to get to that third act, but Coda just had all this momentum these last few months now,
He
and I
sure
was just
did.
thinking, and
Got paid off.
so when I was trying to make my predictions, I was like, no, Coda, there's no way. I think Coda has this locked because if Coda's going to win Best Picture, it has to win more than just Best Supporting Actor. So I thought, and I was 95% sure Coda was going to win for Best Picture. So I was like, Coda's a lock for original or for adapted screenplay.
If you could switch any of them, like you would replace the winner and pick one of the other nominees, what would it be?
So from the nominees for the adapted,
No, just so like if you could pick any of the awards to give to another nominee, who would which one
any
would
of
you
the
switch?
awards. Oh, that's any of the awards. That's the. I mean, I mean, we would have to go through each category, Shane, honestly. But I mean, one of the ones. I'll say this. I'll say two for right now, and maybe when I have the same one. Obviously, I would have switched out probably Kenneth Branagh for Denis Villeneuve in the best directing category.
Oh, I mean like
Oh,
whoever.
are you talking about the screenplay?
No, I'm just specifically mean who won. You would change the winner
Oh, okay. I got you.
because like obviously I feel like it was very predictable from like the vast majority of them who was going to actually win. But like if you could switch any of them, be like I didn't want this person to win or this film, rather have this win.
Cinematography, I would have liked to see gone to either Nightmare Alley or Power of the Dog or even Macbeth. Probably Nightmare Alley because I thought Nightmare Alley just looks beautiful. I missed that in theaters. I was watching that in my theater room, and I thought that was beautiful to look at.
I thought the
Um,
only one that Dune could have lost to was Bruno Dobinel for like Tragedy of Macbeth because like my God.
yeah, that film looks. Yeah, that film's beautiful. I knew Drive My Car didn't have a chance in a lot of categories other than international film, but I would have liked to have seen Ryusuke Hamaguchi win Best Director. I would have loved to have
That's
seen
a
that.
really interesting pick. My one, there's two that I would consider switching. One's a definite. I definitely would have switched Jane Campion. Like I this seems like a really safe Oscar-y pick, but like I kind of wanted to see Steven Spielberg win for West Side Story
I would have been happy with that too.
because like he did the unthinkable, which is like he took one of the most famous movie musicals ever and
Made it better.
delivered,
Yeah.
really delivered, and remade it. And you know, honestly, though, I agree with you that like so like at least George Miller got nominated for Best Director for Fury Road, but
Right.
like I felt like Denis Villeneuve got George Miller because like how the and every single winner that went up there thanked Denis
But yeah.
for Dune. Same thing happened with Fury Road. It just like how did you not pick this for direction? Like how did you look at Dune and was like directing? Nah. You just like look at this movie.
Well,
Makes
I
no
see.
sense.
I have noticed a pattern here with a lot of Denis Villeneuve films that he's been snubbed in a few categories, or certain people have been snubbed in categories for a Denis Villeneuve film. Like my biggest one still is Amy Adams for Arrival. The fact that she wasn't even nominated, Shane will always just be. It might be my biggest snub other than Jake Gyllenhaal for Nightcrawler, and
I
then
don't get how not a single person got nominated for Prisoners. Like
not
the
one
whole
person,
entire cast.
not one person, not one.
Like
Um,
Hugh Jackman legitimately scared me.
right,
Like say
and then
watching that movie.
if you're gonna nominate, I hope I don't piss people off. But like if you're gonna nominate Dune for Best Picture, you nominate Blade Runner 2049 for Best Picture too. That's all I'm saying.
Yep, that was my number one film of that year. That should have been nominated for Best Picture, and he should have been nominated for Best Director. He should have been not like that movie should have been nominated for a lot of things.
It should have,
but that's a whole other tangent. And besides director, and this is 100% nothing against Jessica Chastain because she was amazing. I just cannot believe Kristen Stewart didn't wind up winning the Oscar.
I saved that because I figured you were going to say it.
When Spencer came out, I'm like, oh, there's your Best Actress winner. Duh. And the fact that she almost didn't get nominated.
Yeah.
Like, come on. And so, like, I think it was a really wonderful moment for Jessica Chastain. I'm very happy for her because she's a great actress and deserved it.
Phenomenal.
But, like, and, you know, that was a tough category, too, because I would have been very happy for 4 out of 5 of them.
Who's the
Nicole Kidman?
Well, okay, so I would have. That's the category, Shane. I would have switched a lot. I mean, I would have put in Alana Haim for Licorice Pizza. I would have given her some consideration. I probably would have kept Kristen Stewart. As much as I love Jessica Chastain, she's like a top 10 actress for me, Shane. I thought her performance in Molly's Game and Zero Dark 30 were better than this. So I probably would have placed her. I think Rebecca Hall got snubbed for The Night House.
She got hereditaried.
She did. She did.
Yeah, because Toni Collette in Hereditary sets the tone of like you're in a horror movie and are absolutely amazing, but you're a horror movie, so goodbye.
I mean, Lupita Nyong'o got the same thing with Lupita Nyong'o for Us. See what you want about the movie, but
Essie Davis for Babadook. That's a much like more obscure one, so that I'm not surprised about that. But like, I love Parallel Mothers, and Penelope Cruz was great. Olivia Colman could pop up in anything at this point, just kill it. Because like she was the most magnetic thing in Lost Daughter, and Jessie Buckley, as it turned out too. I was happy she got nominated.
My standout. So I was actually happy with her nomination.
Yeah. I think for me personally, I think the biggest snub, besides Denis Villeneuve for not getting nominated for director, was Katrina Balfe. Getting nominated for Best Supporting Actress for
Ben and I were talking about that when the nominations were. I was like, where the hell is Katrina Balfe? What?
Got replaced by Judi Dench. Who, like, Judi Dench is great in everything, but like, come on.
I thought she was great too, but the fact that when they were announcing or doing the category and announcing the nominees, and they showed the clips, the fact that they chose that clip, I was like, well, yeah, that's a great scene. She's good in it, but Katrina Balfe has so many other more powerful scenes than this one scene from Judi Dench.
Yeah, I remember sitting there when they were announcing, and the fact that, and supporting actor, I wanted Belfast to be the one that got double nominated for supporting actor, because I thought Jamie Dornan really deserved some recognition for that movie. And when Jesse Plemons and J.K. Simmons both got nominated, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm just like, what? Where's Jamie Dornan? I guess he hasn't gotten over the whole 50 Shades of Grey thing yet.
I guess not.
But yeah, so I definitely would have given that Oscar to Kristen Stewart, honestly.
Oh, I would have too. I think a lot of people would have, Shane. I mean, that it wasn't my favorite performance of the year. It was definitely top 5. My favorite performance last year was still Rebecca Hall for The Night House.
I can see that. That was an amazing, amazing performance.
It was.
And, you know, Best Picture, I was happy for Coda. It wasn't my top pick, but, like, it's such a wonderful film. And I think I was happier seeing that win than Power of the Dog.
I wouldn't have been mad because, I mean, of the films nominated, it was a tough category. But as we saw, as the award circuit started going, it was definitely down between Coda and Power of the Dog. So I was very, very happy for Coda because, like we were talking about, the more I've watched that movie, Shane, the more I've fallen in love with it, and the more I get, just emotionally connected with these characters. I'm not gonna lie though, Shane. I was really kind of hoping for another Parasite year and Drive My Car would win it. I really was.
That, you know what? If that won, I would have given the Academy a lot of credit
I would have to.
because that film's a whole other different kind of animal than like any of the other nominees. And when I sat in that theater for the 3 hours watching that movie, when I got to see that in a theater, that was something special. I'm like, this is a whole other level of filmmaking going on right here. And if that got more recognition, I think the movie that I feel the worst for this year was Flea.
Yeah.
Because like it got 3 nominations, which was amazing, but damn, did it hit a brick wall in all 3 categories. Like the only one that I like, there's no way in hell Drive My Car was not going to win. It got nominated for Best Picture. Like it had to and deserved it.
Well, if it was going to get upset by international film, it wasn't going to be for Flea. It was going to be Worst Person in the World.
Yeah.
So,
and then animated, Flea's a better film than Encanto.
I agree with you.
But like it's Disney, so Encanto was going to win.
Well,
so
the animated category, I'm glad you brought that up just real quick because I finally I when I first watched Flea, it was right before Ben and I were getting ready to record something, so I had to stop. So I went back and finished it. I like it. I wasn't in love with it, but I did enjoy it. I did get something out of it. But I felt the best to me just personally, the best animated film that year was Raya. I thought Raya was fantastic.
I loved Raya, and that feels so weird that was last year.
It does because you know what? Disney Plus. It won on Disney Plus.
Luca got Disney Plus.
It did, and I also do think there was another animated film that came out last year that I really enjoyed, and that was Ron's Gone Wrong. I think that movie
had no business being as good as it was.
It had no business being that good, and I love that movie, Shane. That's an incredible movie.
I love Mitchell's versus the Machines, and I remember seeing that being like, oh my god, this is the best animated movie this year. And then I saw Flea, at least for me.
Yeah.
But like, I think Mitchell's versus the Machines for me personally was better than any of the Disney or like Pixar movies that came out. It was just weird.
Well, it's Disney, and I think whenever you get a Disney film in the animated category, it's kind of like Meryl Streep. Whenever they get nominated, it's probably going to win. So, I mean, it could be brave and it's still going to win. So,
yeah. Like, don't bet against Disney. Like, Disney might lose sometimes, but don't bet against them.
Because one time they did, it was to a better film, and that was Into the Spider-Verse.
Well, that and like, well, I guess technically Spirited Away is a Disney film.
Yeah.
Because they distributed here. And like, I think the weirdest year was when Rango won.
I like Rango a lot. I think Rango's a good movie. I forgot what it went up against that year.
I don't remember.
But that was kind of in the year. That was kind of when Pixar was kind of going through a bit of their sluggish years.
I personally love Rango, and I think it's one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen.
It is so bizarre,
but I love it. It's like that one scene from At World's End with the crabs and the Davy Jones locker, except the whole movie.
Exactly.
But animated.
So, I thought Johnny Depp was great as Rango. I was impressed with that movie. I really was.
But I guess at this point, then, like we said, realistically, this show is really predictable. Like you could have went in and like almost every single one predicted what was going to win. I was really happy for Summer Soul and Questlove.
I feel bad for Questlove.
That was awful. Like, and he deserved like that speech that he gave and how heartfelt that was deserved better than. Well, here's a nice segue.
Because it's a wonderful segue.
We thought we were going to get a documentary presented, which of all the awards, Chris Rock's presenting the documentary one.
That was weird. That was weird to me.
They were probably doing that to get more attention for it.
Probably.
And, like, I think they probably thought Questlove was going to win. So they were probably, like, leaning into, like, it wasn't like some random person with a documentary that was going to win this year. it was Questlove who emceed last year and had to like, that's all, folks, during the most awkward ending to a show. I would argue that was more awkward than the whole thing with Moonlight, because at least Moonlight got to have their moment.
They
eventually
did. They did.
But damn, the Oscars gone wild recently.
Yeah.
And here's my very short condensed version of this. This shouldn't have happened. Like, all around, this should not have happened. But however anybody reacted or whatever, boy, do you think the Academy's happy this happened? Because it's sure as hell getting them a lot more publicity.
I think their PR people are doing an excellent job, because I think deep down they are very happy with what happened.
I saw like they jumped like 600,000 viewers when Will Smith came out for his speech.
So Shane, because I'm not torn on the situation, because I feel very strongly of where I stand with this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
This should have never ever happened. Will Smith is 100% in the wrong for what he did. You do not go on stage and slap somebody. What I want to know is, where's security? How is Will Smith able just to get up on stage? I get it's Will Smith and he's one of the greatest entertainers out there right now. But how do you let someone walk on stage while they're in the middle of, their bit and getting ready to present an award? How does that happen? Because we all think it's just part of the bit. When everyone backstage in the green room knows, no, this was not part of the rehearsals. This was not part of the plan. And so for him to slap him and do all that and yell at him, yell expletives, I'm not cool with that. I just want to make that very, very clear, Shane. The joke was also in poor taste. It was a very, very foul joke. And I've seen, Twitter and all this social media kind of torn on, I'll say this because I don't want to take up too much of the time. People are kind of like, are you team Will? Are you team Chris? Are you team? How about, are we team? I feel bad for everybody else who went after this happened. Yeah. How about that team? Because let's be honest here, they were both in the wrong. They were both in the wrong. I will applaud Chris Rock for how he handled the situation, though. He handled it very professionally. But there is no winner here. No one won this thing. Not Will Smith, not Chris Rock. Everyone lost here. Because
the whole rest of the show was just awkward.
Because, the entire thing just felt uncomfortably awkward. There were some great speeches that kind of got overlooked by this unfortunate situation. I'm glad Ariane DeBose actually went first, because she gave one of the best speeches of the night. And so I'm glad she was the first one to go, because if she had done that speech after this incident, Shane.
Troy Kotzer was before too, right?
And I was going to say that for last. I don't know if we're going to do kind of when we wrapped up. I love that moment between him and what's the actress's name from Minari who won Best Supporting? What was her name, Shane? I keep forgetting her name.
I forget what her name is, but she had the best line of the night. I got upset last year with people mispronouncing my name, and then realized, I have to pronounce these names this year.
that was so good. Yoon Jung, I think is how you pronounce it. I probably butchered it.
I think my favorite moment in any speech was Troy Kotzer saying that he got to go to the White House with the rest of the cast and got to meet President Joe and Dr. Jill, and said, I wanted to teach them dirty sign language, but Marlee Matlin told me to behave myself.
Troy Kotzer is a national treasure now, Shane. You know that? Yep. He's a national treasure now.
Oh, and like, I was so happy for the two of them, the two supporting, because they really deserve those Oscars at this point. Yeah. And they both gave great speeches. Jessica Chastain had a very meaningful one, and I appreciated that she connected it back to, like, Tammy Faye was all about love and accepting anybody for who they are. And I felt like that was because at first I'm like, is Jessica Chastain the right one giving this speech? But then, like, the fact that she brought that back to, like, the role that she played, I'm like, okay, that does make sense, especially with the clip that they showed of her.
Right.
where she was talking about like with that man who had AIDS, that particular scene. So like I thought that was a really nice moment. And I feel bad. I can't remember much of Questlove's speech, but like he was so
It
passionate and
was
emotional about
that's
it.
what I remember from it, just how passionate he was about it. And I think he brought up his mother and everything. And it was a very, very wonderful speech that unfortunately uh we're not gonna remember because Will Smith had to be an idiot.
Because it was
So
literally right after,
right.
right after. And
And yeah, I just feel bad for all the nominees who won afterwards. And it's we're not gonna forget this one. We're not
yeah,
gonna
I'm
forget
trying to
this.
think because like I enjoyed Kenneth Branagh's speech. It was pretty brief,
It was very brief.
but appreciative and classy. And I don't recall much of any of Jane Campion's speech.
Well, what I remember most from Jane Campion was like Kevin Costner gives this really passionate speech about directing, and then she comes up on stage like that was a bit dramatic, and you see Kevin Costner's face like, really? I just kind of like poured out my heart and soul out here, and you're gonna say
Which
that?
I have to say one thing about Kevin Costner's speech though. Poor choice of words when he said, I saw my first adult film at the beginning of his speech because that is not where I
Yeah,
thought that was going. and then he said what he saw. I'm like, oh, that's what he meant.
yeah.
And then like it was a very passionate speech and everything like that. Jane Campion rubs me the wrong way.
I think Jane Campion means well. I just don't think she has a filter, or two. I think she reminds me of Sheldon Cooper.
Because like that stuff she said to Venus and Serena.
See, and that's why I was thinking too. I was like, if there's a surprise here, it could be best director because Jane Campion kind of shot herself in the foot with those comments.
Nope. Still won.
Still won.
I guess it depended on when the voting was for the Oscars.
This is true.
Yeah, and I wasn't looking forward to her speech, especially after that last one. I'm like, oh, this could get weird. The Coda one was very passionate, and I appreciated that. And you can tell there was a lot of love going on stage.
I love the hand zip they were doing. I love that was so sweet. I was so happy for all of them. That whole team behind Coda. And look at Apple TV now. They've got an Oscar win under the belt. And I was telling somebody on Instagram, it's like look, we can talk about our passion for going to the movie theaters and watching movies in the theater all we want to. Coda winning Best Picture changes the game now. I don't care what anyone says. That's a game changer.
Well, my question is, Coda technically didn't get like a real theater release, but like Nomadland was a Hulu movie.
No, I think Nomadland was able to play in limited theaters before
it did, but it still technically was owned by Hulu. So
I think you're right.
I saw them put up like first streaming picture to win Best Picture. I'm like, but Nomadland. Are they trying to say that Nomadland was just distributed, like was dropped on streaming on Hulu and not a Hulu original film?
Yeah, because it did get that limited release because it was playing in very limited theaters.
Well, because the thing is, like Netflix puts their movies in theaters, but they're still they are a Netflix movie,
right?
So like, I don't know if they just don't count Nomadland as a Hulu film, but like obviously, Coda, no shadow of a doubt, was an Apple TV Plus film. They spent the $25 million or so to get that movie and put it on their streaming service. And I remember because I have access to the Apple TV Plus screening room, so I get to watch all the films before they come out.
Of course you do.
And I remember sitting in my recliner on a Saturday morning, sitting to watch Coda, and Jess walked down, my fiance, and looked at me. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "This movie." Because I was sitting by myself in my living room, getting emotional watching that movie, and I'm like, nobody sees me crying.
I did cry the first time I watched it. Like I told you when we were talking about it off screen, the first time I watched it, it was also by myself, and because I think it was like a screening of it like a week or two before it came out. It was one of those GoFobo things where I got invited to watch it early.
Oh, nice.
It was like a week early or something like that. But anyway, that's a the point. The point was, it's it's a great coming of age film. And coming of age films have been great these past few years, by the way. I mean, they've been killing these coming of age stories. Like we were saying off screen, though, it doesn't change the game for anything, but the heart of this film is just so pure. And it's emotional. It makes you. It's a crowd pleaser. It's a crowd pleaser. It's a wonderful family crowd pleaser. I forgot about the mother and or her parents screwing, I guess, for lack of better words, in the other room. And I was like, wait, this is R, PG-13, or
her parents were horny AF.
That scene at the doctor's office, man, cracks me up. So funny.
I remember watching Coda being like, I love these parents, like the two of them. And I love Marlee Matlin too. And I'm just like, they're great. These two are so fantastic. But, I think in general, I think it was a pretty predictable Oscars from award standpoint.
Yes.
Obviously, some things definitely happened that were completely unexpected. I have just a sinking feeling that this Oscars is just going to be remembered because of the slap. And
it will be. It will be. And I feel bad. Like I especially feel bad for Coda because this is not just, for Apple, but for the deaf community as a whole. This is big for all of them. And for this to happen, it's sad. It's unfortunate, and I want to say this to you real quick. Let's not crucify Will Smith a lot here. Will Smith did a bad thing, but that does not make him a terrible person. He did a bad thing. He, and I've seen, you know how Twitter gets though, Shane. We all know how Twitter gets. So let's not crucify him too much here. He did a bad thing. Doesn't make him a terrible person though. So.
No, I just like my only reaction I'm going to give to this whole situation is like, this just should not have happened.
It shouldn't have.
People made mistakes and everybody suffered for it. And, the only positive thing is that this definitely got the Oscars a lot more press and attention. The last thing that I want to say before I let you say your last thing, Rod, anything last thoughts, is you cut 8 awards and then you show them anyway. And the show still went to 11:45. So Academy, ABC, what the F was the point? And that's all I have to say.
I will not comment on that. I just can't, Shane. I just can't, because I think that might have been one of the longest Oscars ever on Sunday. As far as me watching, because I've been watching now probably since 2010. I've been watching the Oscars, I guess, probably now 2010, 2011. Been watching the ceremony every year, and that felt like one of the longest ones.
I feel like ever since I've been doing Oscar parties, which is probably 2014, these always end at 11:45, 11:50, 12 o'clock. And it's just like, you're like, we're cutting these. And I'm like, are you though? Maybe you should hire some of the editors that you snubbed from being acknowledged on air to actually cut your show.
Yeah.
My thoughts are, cut down on the BS with the hosts. Like, I know they're trying to make it fun and interesting, and like obviously they're trying to attract other people, with like Tony Hawk and Shaun White.
That was awkward. That was
like,
really cringe.
How about because how many people tune into the Oscars that don't like movies? Probably not a lot. So why the hell are you punishing all of us? We actually care. Yeah. So honestly, I wouldn't even be upset if they streamlined the show and put it on streaming somewhere.
I think it's going to head towards that way eventually.
And at least treat it like an actual award show.
I think they will head that way eventually. I don't think it's going to happen within the next 5 years, but I can see, as more stuff goes towards streaming, as we've already seen, I can see like a Hulu or an Amazon, probably a Hulu picking up and like, hey, we're just gonna
it's funny,
unfiltered.
on Hulu.
Oh, with the Hulu TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I just think, I know that they had that partnership with ABC, but you're not getting the audience you're used to anymore. The Oscars have changed. They've become way more political than what they used to be, and that's just what the time's changing. So, yeah, I keep saying I want a cable cut, Shane. I don't, because I love sports, and so I gotta have my channels for sports. But I could see probably the next decade it being on Hulu.
Yeah, I watch my sports with my my Hulu TV, and that's about it.
Look
But
at
you
you.
have to deal with the blackouts occasionally and stuff like that, and that's not fun.
Look at you bringing up Hulu a couple times. Is that a sponsor of the Wasteland Reviewer?
If only. If I got Hulu money, oh, I'd be looking good. So, but Rod, thank you so much for coming on and chatting the Oscars. And you might appreciate this. So my episode of Wasteland Talks that came out the week before this, so like by the time this drops, is actually my episode about, I did a pre-season MLB breakdown with my brother and my friend Dave. So if you want to hear us talk about baseball, I'm just going to warn you, we're from the Philadelphia area, so there's definitely a Phillies bias.
Well, I can't wait to listen. That's all I will say.
All I said, well, what I specifically said about the NL East is that it's going to be the second most competitive division behind the AL East. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Mets are still going to choke.
They will. And the Braves are going to win again. So, I mean, look, Shane, here's the thing. Just to prepare. Well, I know you're a Diamondbacks fan, so, you don't really – postseason talk doesn't mean anything to you. So,
because they're going to lose another 100 games this year, so –
But that farm system, you got a good farm system, don't you?
We'll see it in 5 years. And then in another 5 years, they can't afford any of them, and then they're all gone anyway.
Maybe, we'll trade you some of your farm players for, we'll give you, no, we're not going to give you anybody.
You're going to trade Dansby Swanson back to the Diamondbacks?
No, look, if we give rid of Dansby, I'm still kind of reeling from Freddie Freeman going to the Dodgers. So if we get rid of Dansby Swanson, I'm not going to be happy, especially if it goes to the Diamondbacks. I'm not coming on the show anymore if you ask me to come back on. So, I've been on for 2 weeks in a row now, so you're probably tired of me anyway. So
I had some baseball last week. Next week's episode after this is going to be I already recorded it. It's a summer movie preview.
Oh, nice.
It starts in April now because when big budget movies start. And then I realized how mediocre August looks this year. It's like big movie, and then hit August like, wait, what the hell is this?
We're doing that. We're recording that in April because
Are you starting with Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah, that's kind of when the summer kicks off, really.
Yeah.
So
it's when the real party begins.
Exactly.
After the Nick Cage.
I gotta tell you something about that movie, but I'll tell you off screen.
Yep. And then as we speak of recording this is the last hours of my tournament to determine the next director of my Welcome to the Wasteland. Last time I checked before we started recording, Spielberg's beaten Nolan 9-6 in the finals. So I think we're getting Steven Spielberg. So obviously we'll be chatting, Rod.
I remember when I was in 6th grade and you started your tournament, and now I'm a grown man and the tournament's still going on. It's a wonderful thing to see it all finish out.
And Rod's going to be coming on soon for his second round interview too. So we got that coming up. So we'll chat about that.
Next week, 3 weeks in a row. I'm kidding.
But Rod, thank you so much for coming on. And you all should check out the Cinema Gallery with 3 L's because Instagram is stupid.
There you go.
And check out the Infinity Film Podcast, which I guess I'm coming back on again for some kind of show coming up.
Yes.
I'm gonna leave it vague, build suspense and intrigue. But Rod, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Shane. It's always a pleasure coming on here talking with you about movies and stuff. So appreciate it, buddy.
Absolutely. And thank all of you out there for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.